LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I
filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, well, wait till you hear what Illinois politicians are saying about this horrific case of the illegal migrant from Venezuela accused of killing that beautiful Chicago student, 18-year-old Sheridan Gorman from Loyola University. So for days, J.B. Pritzker was sort of dodging, and then he puts out a statement that looks like it could have been written by any PR person. It was so generic after he was pressed. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family. Some just generic statement like that. It was so disconnected, just some like rubber stamp statement. And then when he was pressed a little further, hey, is there anything different or who do you blame? Guess who he blames? He blames President Trump. You can't make it up. Here's Governor J.B. Pritzker.
There have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. That's their national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst.
So he's blaming President Trump for not going after the worst of the worst? How does that make any sense? When we also know what happened in this particular case, you have that woman, and we're going to play that in a little bit. I still can't believe that Democratic Chicago alderwoman who blames the victim. But first, here is Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, and he's asked, well, will you apologize essentially for your sanctuary city policies that puts these people back out on the street? And Alina from TNEC, who just called in, made a really good point, because why are we not holding these individuals accountable? Obviously, it's hard, because how do you track down if they have any assets? How do you track down any punishment to them? I mean, first and foremost, we're not even giving them the basic one. We're not even locking them up. We seem to be so much more sympathetic to illegal migrants, even if they commit crimes, than American citizens. So I think Alina made a superb point. And listen to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who went after just last week the police, saying they shouldn't be cooperating with ICE. And here is what he had to say. He was asked, will you apologize? Maybe your policies, your crazy sanctuary city policies contributed to this. And he gave like a word salad answer, like that makes Kamala Harris look like a neophyte in the word salad department. Listen to this.
We're going to continue to pray for those victims.
Will you take this opportunity to apologize to Sheridan's parents for the policies that you promoted that would directly caused her death? That suspect would not be in the city, would not be in the country, but for your policies. Will you take this opportunity to apologize?
Well, again, I believe that we're all grieving the loss of Sheridan and other folks who have lost their lives because of senseless violence. And let's just be very clear, between the Safety Act and the Welcoming City Ordinance, the Welcoming City Ordinance was passed 40 years ago by the first black mayor in the history of Chicago. And the Safety Act was passed under the governor, at that time, who was a Republican, Governor Rauner. Thank you for your questions.
So you will not apologize to Sheridan's parents?
Hi, Mayor.
No apology. You have nothing to say to
that. No, let's just kind of move on. Let me just kind of dodge and weave. Did that make any sense to any of you guys? Well, this makes sense to me because it's disgusting. This is the Chicago alderwoman. I want to play this again. Her name is Maria Haddon. And she started blaming the victim, not the armed Venezuelan migrant who already had a criminal history of shoplifting and had an outstanding warrant for multiple years, never should have been out on the street. And here is what she said in the victim shaming department. Disgusting.
All the time, right? And they go out on the pier, they walk around. So the kids were out doing normal things people do in the neighborhood. And it sounds like this might have been a wrong place, wrong time, running into a person who had a gun. They might have startled this person at the end of the pier unintentionally. But that's
It might have just startled somebody on the pier, so I guess it's their fault. Is that what you're trying to say to me? That to me is really a just shocking statement, but it's par for the course. That it couldn't have been that horrible, I should say in their mind, sweet illegal migrant from Venezuela. No, it could not have been that. Well, here is former governor, I should say, Rod Blagojevich, also congressman, but former governor of Illinois, a Democrat, who said the Democratic Party needs to wake up.
Well, it's heart-wrenching. It's a heart-wrenching story. I'm a father of two daughters myself. I think of parents, how they're suffering. This poor young girl, 18 years old, her young adulthood, leaving home probably for the first time to go to college, leaves behind and her life is taken from her by a situation, a criminal, an illegal immigrant, and all of it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided if the Democratic leaders, Governor Pritzker, Johnson, the Democratic Party, stopped playing politics with public safety. It could have been avoided. The Democratic Party would simply follow the law and enforce the law. It's as simple as that. And because they don't, because they pander and play politics, and our governor here, Pritzker, has this gluttonous appetite to pander to the crazy lunatic left wing of our party, which unfortunately has now become the mainstream of the party, this is what you get. And by the way, you get a governor who won't himself condemn the killing or express condolences to the family. Only today, a spokesperson from his office did that.
Yeah, and it was some totally generic statement that could have been written by a PR student in their first year in college. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Reggie in Texas, line 4. Go ahead, Reg, your thoughts tonight.
Well, first of all, Miss Rita, doesn't every tragedy that involves the loss of life at the hands of another, isn't that always in the wrong place at the wrong time? So that's just a very idiotic thing. And correct me if I'm wrong today. Wasn't there a bill that passed in the House of Representatives where 187 Democrats voted against it that included provisions that illegal aliens would be thrown out for defrauding the government and things along that nature? Yes,
and close to 200 said no. I mean, to me, you rob a bank, should you be punished? And if you're an illegal, should you be punished? No. I mean, that's why, Reggie, don't you feel like we're living in another planet? Like we're almost on Mars?
Well, it's just sad to see it. We're watching the degradation of our country. We're watching this beautiful republic being torn down. And real quickly to your other topic earlier, you were talking about Brennan. Yes, what he said was deplorable. But think about what else is being said and even attempted. They're trying to cut off funding for the war. You've got Jeffries earlier last week. Didn't he say that they're going to lose? He used the word they, didn't he? Didn't he use the word they?
Yeah, he said war. Yes, they, and he said that it's going to be another endless Mideast war. They will lose.
They
as opposed to we. Right. Yeah, which country is there another country in within America that you and I don't know about, Reggie?
No, see, that sums it up. I think this has been brought up by other callers on your show. The days of loyal opposition are over. This isn't about loyal opposition. It's about destruction of the republic. They fought every measure that helps keep the country strong. It's like being an arsonist and then blaming the fire department for coming in and putting the fire out. How could Trump possibly have anything to do with this? And you're a mom. I'm a dad. I have a beautiful daughter. I can't imagine losing her at 18, especially when it involves such a senseless thing that could have been prevented. Law enforcement just not doing their job.
Yeah, and how shocking is that? I mean, when and the vilification of law enforcement, Reggie, is you brought up. I've never seen it so divided, and I don't think it's going to get better. That's what really concerns me, Reggie, as you bring up for future generations, that we are in a position now where the world is so divided, in America especially, And you see it in other countries too, but really in this country where the Democrats will literally say ICE is going to go kill somebody essentially if they come to the airports, or that they will lose this war against a terrorist regime that anybody should be cheering to have knocked out, but not the Democrats because it's Trump. I mean, it goes to like it is so well beyond. Even like, we used the phrase Trump derangement syndrome years ago. This is like on steroids. I mean, this is like so lunatic that nothing Trump does is good. They will not give him credit for anything, and that everything is bad if Trump has his hands on it. I mean, he could literally cure cancer, sadly. And I think they'd say, oh, that's terrible what he's doing to the pharmaceutical companies. That's not a nice thing. I mean, we're really in a very dangerous place, Reggie, don't you think? When you look at this and you look at what's happened and just where this is going, I mean, this is a frightening time, I think, in the world when people are willing to say anything. And I think about these young people out there that are getting indoctrinated and all they hear. And I think about when I first started in the media business, Reggie, like, it didn't used to look like two different worlds, but now it's like if you click on MS Now, you hear, I believe the Iranian regime more than Trump, and then they don't even get challenged. I mean, what I saw, I didn't see them getting challenged. I mean, that's a frightening, and you wonder why a young person, well, maybe that's all they watch, that's what they think is reality. So that's a scary place. How do we fix it, Reggie? I don't know, actually. How do we fix it?
Well, I think you brought up a great point. It's got to start with young children, and you and I are close to the same age, I imagine. We started each day with a Pledge of Allegiance, and I remember one of my teachers as a young boy. Her husband was fighting in Vietnam, and we would pray every day. We would start our day with a Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer. And even here in Texas now, in our hospitals, here I was at the hospital yesterday. There was a moment where the pastor came on and he prayed right over the loudspeaker, just like you had in school. And what happened is we've had a large disconnect. You don't have to be immersed in the whole culture of religion, but there has to be a healthy respect for a greater being. And I think our country has totally lost touch with that. Our founders were immersed in God, and I think our country lost it from the education system on up. People aren't raising their children, and the education system isn't with any kind of respect for God, and I think it's showing on where we are right now, unfortunately.
I agree. I think we've lost sort of our moral compass. And I think those values that get passed on from parents and teachers. And, Reggie, when I grew up, I never in a million years would have ever imagined being cross to a teacher or being cross to a law enforcement official. I mean, that to me is unconscionable. I cannot even imagine. And so, I sit here and I hear these people who are disgracing and saying these horrible things. And then you have political leaders like a Hakeem Jeffries. He's not just anybody. He's the House Minority Leader, and he could become, the Speaker if the Democrats take the House in November. This is a guy who says that ICE is going around killing people, and he might be the leading person after the midterms because often, it goes the opposite way of the person in the White House. And let's pray that history doesn't repeat itself and that maybe this is an anomaly year and maybe the House stays in the Republican hands, because the minute the Democrats, if they're saying this now, imagine if they're in a position of power. Imagine how many investigations are going to get bogged down. President Trump knows it, too. His agenda will get so bogged down in the House and the Senate, or either one, depending which chamber is in whatever's control. But if it stays in the GOP's control, he can at least try to push some things through. But even now, you see, it's still, if you have a tight margin, this is why everybody has to get out and vote for, security in this country and appreciating this country, because voting is very cyclical. And if there's ever an example, think about the difference between Biden and Trump right now. It could not be more, further apart, night and day. Biden's asleep, Trump's awake. That's pretty much it. 1-800-848-9222. And thank God President Trump's awake and awake to Iran.
The The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is The Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to your calls, guys. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And also, by the way, coming up, we're going to talk about how bad the lines were for TSA because of what's happening at the airport. In Houston, they're saying some of the lines for passengers for hours. And it was so bad that the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, said they had trouble getting some investigators rushed from the scenes because they were stuck in line. Can you imagine? They couldn't even get out of the line to come to LaGuardia to investigate the crash that happened. That's how bad this is. This is so dangerous. Democrats are really playing with fire. Let's go to John in Colorado, line 1. Go ahead, John. Your thoughts tonight.
Rita, there sure is a lot of things to comment on, but I was wondering, where do you go to get a job as a professional protester, and who's hiring these people? I mean, is that legal? Shouldn't they be held accountable for this?
You know, John, you bring up some good points. Well, there's a couple layers, first of all. There are these like companies that actually, I have to remember what one of them was, but they were kind of advertising, hey, if you want to come out and protest, we'll pay you X. So you can look like you have a crowd or whatever cheering for you, like fans or protest. You know, if they're out there on the streets and carrying signs and doing whatever, that is legal. The question is, if they're doing something that's undermining America, if they're breaking into territory, if they're pushing police officers, if they're threatening Jewish students, threatening language, if they're praising terrorist groups, that's not necessarily a good thing. Some of that could be free speech, the praising a terrorist group, as crazy as that sounds. But if you're threatening people and making people feel uncomfortable, and also if some of the money is coming from overseas or being funneled through charities, there could be a lot of no-nos here. That's why we got to find out.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, your new foundation. Use PDF spaces to generate a presentation. Grab your docs, your permits, your moves. AI levels up your pitch, gets it in a groove. Choose a template with your timeless cool. Come on now, let's flex those tools. Draft, design, deliver, make it sing. AI builds the deck so you can build that thing. Do that, do that, do that with Acrobat.
Learn more at adobe.com/do-that-with-Acrobat.
Rita Cosby is on.
Well, ICE is at the airports, and I think this is a brilliant idea. It's incredible. You think about it, it's been 3 paychecks. There are a lot of people in this country that live paycheck to paycheck, and TSA, which are working very hard. Whenever I go to the airport, I thank them, even if I feel like I'm held up. You know, they're like, Rita, you got a water bottle in here. Oh, shoot, I forgot. I thank them because they're trying to keep all of us safe, and we should all be thankful to them. So far, 450 plus have quit because they just can't take it anymore. And there's reports that I think it's like 3,000 a day have been calling out sick just because a lot of them are sleeping in cars. They're doing double jobs. They have to pay for their kids' food. They've got to pay for rent. 3 months is a long time if suddenly things get shut off and you're in a very stressful job too. It's such an important job right now. The threat level across this country is at an all-time high. There's a worldwide security alert because of sleeper cells and security. So you got that extra pressure and then you're not getting a paycheck. And I'm really glad the CEO of Delta said there will be no more special perks for members of Congress at Reagan Airport and some other airports, because a lot of times members of Congress can kind of get in quickly. and they can rush through. They get sort of VIP treatment. I'm glad that they're going to have to stand in the line like the rest of us. And apparently in Houston's airport, the line is 4 hours long. Passengers should be holding up signs saying, "How dare you, Democrats, that you put me in this situation?" I said this earlier. If you guys listen on Katz and Cosby, I know so many of you do, that the Democrats do get the message out. When if the shoe were on the other foot, they'd be standing at the airports all over the place. They'd be getting protesters, real and paid, out there holding up signs. And guess what? The Republicans need to start doing it so the American public understands that the Democrats are right now essentially holding airports hostage. It's crazy. So here is President Trump, because he commented today about the shutdown. It is now into a month. I mean, this is a long time not to get paid. Take a listen.
Well, some of them are needing money, because the Democrats cut off their money. I blame the Democrats more than anything else. But some of them, they didn't get paid because they're not funded by the Democrats. This is a Democrat problem. In fact, I actually said to the Senate, why would you say this is a Democrat problem? I think the polls are showing it's a Democrat problem. And they'll do anything actually to hurt our country so they can try and win the midterms. And if we ever went back to our old policies, we wouldn't have a country left.
We would not have a country left. That is astounding. And he's right. He's right. Can you imagine? Come one, come all. Can you imagine if the Democrats right now were dealing with ICE at a time like this, with all the threats going on across this country? This is a frightening scenario, and yet they don't seem to care. I haven't heard them say, "Oh, we feel really bad." They just are anti-ICE, anti-ICE, anti-ICE. That's all it is. And it's so bad that they're willing to hold up even investigators. Listen to this. This is the head of the NTSB. This is the chair, Jennifer Hominy. And she was trying to get one of her investigators to rush up from Houston up to LaGuardia to investigate that horrific crash of the plane that crashed into the fire truck. And what happens? She barely could get that investigator through. Listen to this.
We have LaGuardia that was shut down. We had a ground stop at Newark today. And then we have DHS that shut down, and we have long TSA lines. We have our air traffic control specialist who was in line with TSA for 3 hours until we called in Houston to beg to see if we can get her through so we can get her here. So it's been a really big challenge to get the entire team here, and they're still arriving as I speak. Right up until about, I think the latest I saw was midnight, maybe 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it is a long travel day for many of those, and many are arriving by sure plane. We have had many that have come here by train, and certainly automobile. We drove up, a number of us.
Can you imagine the NTSB, the preeminent organization there in terms of investigations? That's what they have to deal with. That is really, really shocking that they have to sustain that. And here we are with the DHS shutdown. It is stretched, I think it's 39 days. I mean, that's shocking as Democrats continue to block that funding bill. And here is Democrat Cory Booker. Listen to what he says about ICE at the airports. He's vilifying ICE.
And so what's happening today in America that should outrage everybody? He's taking this very same agency that has been bursting into our schools, into our churches, into our hospitals, into our courts, and even into the homes of Americans. He's taking that agency that is reckless and out of control and bringing them to our airports under the lie that somehow this is going to help deal with the long lines that he created in the first place. This is an outrage. We should not have an agency that America doesn't trust, an agency that literally has seen violence against Americans, an agency that is tearing away American families, tearing apart American families, and arresting and detaining Americans, and violating due process rights and civil rights.
Violating civil rights. And yet their job is to get horrible people off the street. Those who have especially committed crimes in this country, like the Venezuelan migrant who is now accused of murdering that beautiful 18-year-old Loyola University student. And then you still have Democrats in Illinois making excuse after excuse after excuse. And again, I want to play this because this is just shocking. This is Hakeem Jeffries again saying that I shouldn't be at airports because they could kill.
There are three things that have been true since Donald Trump and Republicans came back into power last January. Life is more expensive, life is more chaotic, and life is more extreme. The last thing that the American people need are for untrained ICE agents to be deployed at airports all across the country, potentially to brutalize or in some instances kill them. We've already seen how ICE conducts itself. These are untrained individuals when it comes to doing the current job that they have for the most part, let alone deploying them in close exposure and highly sensitive situations at airports across the country.
They could kill. They could do this. They could do that. And that guy, again, could become the next Speaker of the House. I wonder if he would rip up the State of the Union address, just like Nancy Pelosi did. Wasn't that lovely? I'm sure he would. He'd probably rip it up. He wouldn't even wait till the end. These people seem so intent on doing anything to destroy Trump. Can you imagine if he becomes a House Speaker and he's sitting behind President Trump when he gives the next State of the Union address? Think about what that's going to be like. If you thought it was crazy on this last one, can you imagine he'll be giving cues? Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. Even if he says, who'll support America over migrants, keep sitting down, keep sitting down. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Fran in Massapequa. They're in Long Island, line 1. Go ahead, Fran.
Love you, girl. Love you so much. Thank
right
you
back
for all
at
the
you,
work.
Fran. Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you do. You are a warrior for the cause, and thank you so much.
Thank you. And by the way, you are too. You know what? You guys embolden me because we're in it together. We all love this country.
Absolutely, and you're just always so positive. But you said it before. It's the messaging. I've looked and read and watched and just tried to come up with why a certain part of America just is so Democratic. There's so much behind the Democrats, and I think it's like you said. You just played Jeffries. He's literally, look at what everything he said is not true. But, a couple of people did die that kind of, provoked their own death by going after ICE agents and putting themselves in those spots. But the people who don't have the common sense, the people that don't have the wits that maybe we have politically, they're voters, and they say, wow, listen to this guy on national TV. He's right. They did kill somebody, didn't they? Oh, God, he's right. Now they're going to go. And that's what happens. And I'm going to bring this back, and I hate to do it, but I always wondered, how the hell did the Nazis kill all those Jews? And what happened in Germany is for years before it, they lied and lied and lied in the press, TV and in the news about the Jews are no good, the Jews are no good. And when it finally started happening where they were hurting and killing Jews and put them in encampments, the German people and people were like, oh, yeah, well, they are bad people. The press and the lies can do so much damage. And I feel that's where we are, and it's so bad. The press and the lying of the Democrats, who their messaging, they're 100% together. They do not break rank. We break rank. So you got voters that say, oh, wow, well, Lisa Murkowski and 3-4 others think that Trump is wrong. Maybe he is. So it's just the messaging, and it's just the sickness of the media and the lying, terrible Democrat politicians.
You know,
It's
Fran,
disgusting.
you bring up a very powerful example of, you're right. You think about the information that's like fed into people that was fed back then, and I call it propaganda, because that's what a lot of the other stuff is. You're right. It is propaganda. And,
How
you
else,
know,
how else? I'm sorry.
No,
How
no,
else
no.
can
Go
something-
ahead.
But how else in the country can something so bad like the Holocaust happen? Think about that. Because people were convinced, oh, they're bad people. The Jews are bad. And that's because of the press. Because I said to myself, how can people stand by and watch that? And that's what happened. The press, the politicians, they were saying, oh, the Jews are bad. They're no good. And for years, and people just finally, they believed it.
No, you hit it on the head. And also back then, too, so much of it was also obviously, you know, Hitler's rhetoric. And there were some people who were like, you know, discounting Hitler. Hitler was out there saying, oh, you know, this, that, we need to take on this, we need to do that. And they just thought it was like rhetoric. And as we know from history, it was a lot more than rhetoric. It was just the most horrific actions ever. And you're right. He sort of started out blaming the Jews, also disarming people. So people had no weapons to defend themselves, disarming the Jews, saying, you know, oh, they're bad people. We're going to put them here, but we're not going to do anything to you. And then obviously the horrors of what they did, the unspeakable. But you're right. We need to learn from history that good people need to stand up and stand together to defend people when they're being unfairly vilified, as the Jews clearly were. And you look at even now, some of the rhetoric that we hear coming from the Ayatollah. I mean, when he says death to America, death to Israel, he means it. And that's why I really do applaud President Trump for doing one of the most courageous, transformative moments in world history, what he's doing right now with Iran. And Fran, we have to stand up when truth is obviously being twisted and brought out as propaganda by individuals. It needs to be called out. And if somebody does a good thing, you guys know me. If somebody does a good thing, I don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat, I will praise them. If I think it is good for America, if I think it's good for the community, I'll praise them. But if I think somebody is a bunch of hogwash, I'll call them that and then some. But Frank, I'm glad that you're in the camp, too, of truth and fairness, because truth and fairness, I always believe at the end of the day wins out. And it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. We are all Americans, and we all have to stand together and do what's right for our country and what's right for the world. And if it's not, we need to call it out. You with me, Fran?
Yes, Rita, you are beautiful. That was so beautifully said. But I'm really quick. We're on the seesaw of history, and it's going either way right now. And it's amazing that it can even be like that. How sick the Democrats, you know, they are and the way they talk. But look at New York, in a dominantly Jewish, you know, state, you know, city. A creep like Mandami was voted in, an absolute Jew hater. It's coming, and we got to do something. This is no joke, Rita. Love you, love you, love you. Don't ever change. John Catsimatidis is one of my idols. I would love to meet him if you can arrange that. Love you so much. Thank you.
And John is an amazing man. I definitely agree with you on that, friend. We'll have to make that happen sometime because he is an amazing man and an inspiration. And his motto is common sense, bottom line. Fran, thank you very much. We got to stand strong together. And that's what the Rita Cosby Show is all about, hearing from all of you, all of us together as one, Americans. And everybody, we're going to take your calls after the break. But first, support our heroes. And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Missoula, Montana, where Ron Scharf, a World War II veteran, was honored by the Montana National Guard for his role in the Battle of Iwo Jima. More than 80 years later, his story is still being told and still being felt in a big, big way. The veteran said, "I'm here today with the luck of God, and it sure is an honor to be chosen to do something like this. And if you don't hear from the guys that are still left, You are not going to hear it at all. Just to hear a background, he was just a teenager when he served in the Navy, piloting a landing craft through heavy fire and bringing Marines onto the beaches of Iwo Jima, Japan. During one landing, his boat was struck and throwing him forward as Marines around him fought to stay alive in the water. Despite being injured, he returned to duty just days later, continuing to support operations as that historic battle raged on. And of course, bravo to him and all of our great veterans from World War II, of the greatest generation ever. We love you. We appreciate you so much here on The Rita Cosby Show. And everybody, America's heroes need your help more than ever. You know how much we love this country and we love giving back to our great veterans, our military, and our first responder heroes. And the best way to do that is to donate just $11 a month to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are extraordinary. Be sure to check them out. They are the best at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls tonight. Let's go to Steve in New Jersey on line 3. You're here on the Rita Cosby Show. Go ahead, Steve.
Hi, Rita, and congratulations on your award.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. 11 Gracies. And you know what? It's because of great callers like you, Steve. So thank you.
So, Rita, I have a extensive background in aviation security, and law enforcement. I also, as a child, 16 years old, worked for a company called Security 76 at the LAX airport, doing an identical job to what the TSA does. And I don't know if you're aware of, there's no mandate for the government to have TSA at any airport. Any airport can opt out of it, just like San Francisco did. So, without further ado, I'm going to also, my extensive background in the government, I know a lot about the TSA, and I know it's a stepping stone job. Usually the people want to work somewhere else. It's relatively low paying.
But let me ask you, don't you believe that it's an important role, especially, I mean, obviously after 9/11, where we have to check who comes on the plane. I think of Richard Reed. Remember that, the shoe bomber?
Yeah, but let me give you a little bit of updates, okay? We have the security now, the technical ability now to do things we couldn't do in 911. We have eye scanning. We can do all types of stuff to expedite the movement of passengers. So my plan is
real quick
to that ASAP. But in addition to that, Rita, we don't need the TSA. They should be civilian employees, contract employees. And then, Rita,
do me a favor, Steve. Will you call back tomorrow night? I'll make sure I take you, because we're at the end of the show. I'm so sorry because we got a hard break, but I definitely want to hear more from you, because I think you got to have people that are well trained and equipped.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?